I got something here that should help to keep it cool while this records, and I wasn't sure exactly where it ended, so we'll just have to start playing it where it's at now. Um, Other than that, let's hope it doesn't overheat again, and we'll press play. Oh, I need to set something below that that'll actually hold my phone in place. There we go. Like we're being pushed into the sea. And then we get all these child molesters and rapists dropped off in our community. 80% of us are out here because of victimization. And then we're stuck out here with the same types of people that victimized us growing up. And we got to be afraid at every turn. I need to be able to turn in the situation safely when Hood River has been the police department, the sheriff's department, and the state patrol. They all keep sending me back and forth to each other. Each one saying it's not their job. State patrol saying it's not their job to police the police. I looked it up. It is their job. But because I'm a homeless person and they can call me mentally ill and pretend that I'm schizophrenic, I'm out here on the streets having people doing horrible crap to me, like putting methamphetamines in stuff and giving it to me because of a situation that they know nothing about. I need help stopping the abuse that was started by Natalie Bollinger and her friends. I'm different, and I get that that makes me easy to victimize, but that doesn't make it okay to victimize me.
Sure.
And now with that guy yesterday that drugged me up, there's a guy here named Daniel, and I'm pretty sure he's delusional as all hell, but he's going through a lot of stuff of his own, and for me, I'm afraid, so I revert, and I get scared, and then I shut down. For him, he can identify the guy same as I can. We both saw the guy's face when he handed us the Pepsi cup, and it had Dr. Pepper in it, and it didn't taste right, and I saw one of the Hood River sheriffs down here at the marina, and then, of course, I tried to voice it as much as I could on my YouTube channel, because I'm tired of having to go to Hood River and the police department and the sheriff's department here, because I'm tired of getting ignored. I'm tired of them, treating me like I don't matter. I'm not out here doing the drugs. I'm not out here raping people. I'm not out here pillaging. I'm not out here molesting children. I'm not out here selling drugs. I'm not out here doing drugs. But, with people, if you look up the name Natalie Bollinger, you'll see there's a lot of stuff about her. And I've got a lot of stuff of my own that I keep posting up, because nobody's going to defend me. Nobody's going to fight for me. I got to try to fight to show the truth when everybody wants to look away. So it's not just that Natalie died, it's that people just want to focus on Natalie. They want to pretend that I don't exist, that the abuse that I continue to endure, it can't possibly exist because I'm autistic, and obviously autistic people are retarded. And that's not how it should be. I'm still a human being. I went to the hospital and I made sure that I got paperwork so that I have the paperwork that says that I had methamphetamines in my system. I already knew that if it was meth, it probably wasn't going to kill me, because, it turns out there was a lot more in that cup than I thought there was, because I gulped about 3/4 of an ounce of a 20-ounce cup, and I tasted it immediately, so I only chugged about 3/4 of an ounce, and I tried to induce vomiting immediately. But I'm still having the effects of it. I had to go to the hospital last night. I had to put a note on my vehicle saying that I had to go to the hospital because of something I ingested, and the reality of it is
I still got my hospital bracelet.
because of stuff that's on the internet, because because I won't sell his friend my Honda Civic.
And a cool
It's
lighter.
full of evidence. I got nowhere to go. I got no assistance. I'm stranded here. I get disability from Nebraska, but I don't have any assistance here with getting it transferred over or any of that. Meanwhile, people tell me to jump through a bunch of hoops without knowing what's going on, and I'm sick of getting the runaround. There's a lot of people.
Have you got a phone number for contact, Sean?
I do. One moment.
Okay. I just want to make sure I got that.
Anyways,
have you tried going to any of our DHS offices?
All right, so I'm able to pause it when I record it on my tablet, but I can't pause it on the recording, my clandestine recording device. And I might be able to pause it on YouTube. Somebody was telling me they think you can pause a live feed, but I don't know how to do it, and neither did they. I can pause on my phone too, but if I'm using my phone to make phone calls, I don't get to record on it. So it's a good thing that a tablet is basically just a giant phone. It has a lot of the same features. Anyway, it allows me so that like when people ask me my number there, you notice you can't tell what my number is. That's because I was able to pause. And then I told him my number while the recording was paused. All right, we'll get back to playing it. Oh, hell.
Talking to them about support.
I've been trying. The problem is without an advocate, my executive functioning does not exist
I make
currently.
the calls. They just send
I
me to
was put
somebody
into
else.
a state of panic for the last 6 years and in a state of crisis, and nobody understands that I can't function like this. They think that if they abuse me enough, then I can magic it away and I won't be autistic anymore. But that's just not the way that disabilities work. There's a few of the officers that I've got paperwork on in here that I tried turning in. One of them is Michelle Quinn of Garden County, Nebraska. I was trying to turn in her entire department, actually. Michelle Dicini, D-I-C-I-N-I, from Lincoln, Nebraska. And Sarah Nelson from Lincoln, Nebraska. And Polly Olson from Chapel, Nebraska. So I recommend looking their names up. They're all in jail for things similar to what they did to me, but they didn't get in any trouble for what they did to me because there's the whole mentally ill tag and the blue line of BS.
Yes, I said that to a former cop.
I mean, the idea that all cops are on the same side before they're on the side of the civilians is horrible. And then the way that homeless people are treated compared to people in houses, like it's obvious that we're not considered human beings by most cops. And the ones who do consider us human beings have to do it on the down low because it's not popular. I have stuff from my therapist, my licensed independent mental health care lady. I've been diagnosed as autistic. I've been diagnosed with PTSD. I've been diagnosed with Tourette's syndrome. The lady also states very loud and clear on the recordings that I'm not schizophrenic, that I'm absolutely not delusional. She states that I don't have bipolar. The problem that I have is that because of the mass quantities of abuse, you probably haven't had people threatening to kill you for years over bullshit that was on the news. But, that's just an assumption. I don't know. Maybe you could have. But the problem is that I've been here in Hood River for 6 months. I don't have a guardian. I can't do any of these things myself. And I don't have anyone left to ask. I mean, all the people that I could ask and did ask, I've got mountains and mountains of evidence of them letting me know about the people who are threatening to kill them and threatening to kill their families. Anyway, right now, the advice that I got from law enforcement here, as well as from the hospital, about being, sorry about that, dosed up with meth, is basically just to walk it off. And I know there's not a whole lot that they can do as far as, you know, the ingestion part, but the fact is, it's my body. I consented to allowing that guy to bring me a soda pop as an apology. I did not consent to having methamphetamines put into that pop. And the other thing is, Daniel, he was with me, and I asked him if he thought it was off, and he thought it was off too. And people wanted to tell me, oh, it's all in your head. No, it's not. I'm autistic, not schizophrenic. You know, I've grown up with a lot of people who were on drugs. I grew up in the system because my parents couldn't stay off the drugs. People have this idea that all autistic people grew up in a fucking bubble and don't know nothing. But the fact is, if you take somebody who's got Down syndrome and you grow them up in a tweaker household, they're going to know what a teener is. That's just a fact. You know, if you take somebody who's got a disability and you put them in an environment, they're still going to learn about the environment that they're in. For me, growing up in the system and growing up in a family full of drug addicts, like, I knew to stay away from that crap. But then there's the fact that I don't really get along with my family or see eye to eye with my family, and I am obviously homeless, and obviously people here do have access to me. They have had access to me, and with the stuff on the internet about Natalie Bollinger, like, it just gives them an excuse to take out all their aggression on somebody. And when they're drug addicts, they get volatile over very, very minute shit. So I'm highly intelligent, but because of my executive functioning issues, when I'm overwhelmed, I literally can't take care of myself. And no matter how many times I explain that, it's like I'm talking to a brick wall. And I'm told I can't do any of this stuff to help myself without a guardian or somebody present because the mentally ill tag. And I'm like, hey, mentally ill does not mean what you think it does. It's not a diagnosis. If somebody's got PTSD from being raped, it's not okay to call them mentally ill to discredit them when they try to turn in their rapist. And that's the equivalent of what's going on here. I mean, this is just the latest in a series of events here in Hood River that didn't need to happen. And it all started with the cops here trying to tell people that I was schizophrenic and doing drugs with people in my vehicle. I don't do drugs. So what purpose do they have in going around and telling people I'm doing drugs with people in my vehicle, especially since I recorded it on video? They can see very plainly that there's no room for somebody to sit in my vehicle unless they were sitting on my lap in the driver's seat. I had to move here to flee abuse. I got evidence of the threats and harassment and intimidation against my little sister and my niece and many others. And the problem is that I get the mentally ill treatment. People blow me off over and over again, and I need them to look at the evidence instead of blow me off. My disability money without an advocate and a guardian to help me with this stuff, I'm not able to take care of the things that need to be taken care of in order to keep my disability. I'm not capable of doing those things. And I don't understand. Go ahead.
You've tried getting some help from Center for Living, or have you contacted them at all?
Center for Living? Yes, I have. Center for Living is not an appropriate substitute for Department of Health and Human Services. We need actual social workers out here. What these guys are doing is not okay. It's not appropriate. I've got recordings of the way that they talk to us and the way that they treat us. That's highly inappropriate for them to talk to us that way. When we're going into the mandated reporters that we're supposed to go to and we're being abused, the last thing that we need to be hearing out of them, and this is like the first sentence out of Tamara's mouth was, well, I didn't do it. I wasn't accusing her of doing anything at that point. I was trying to tell her what was going on. Now, from there, it just got worse. Now, then there's the fact that anybody from the Department of Health and Human Services that's in that position is supposed to actually be there to monitor the proceedings, and they don't get out of their vehicles. When they came up and stole Dean's vehicle, his Winnebago, the lady from the Center for Living didn't even get out of her car. She sat in her car over in a different parking lot so that she didn't have to see it, and there was an obstruction between her and Dean's stuff anyway. Anyway, I need to be able to turn in the guy that gave me the Pepsi yesterday and get charges pressed against him. I do. I got to try to get his name. Me and Dan, we both recognize him. I know.
Is he a regular down there?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
He likes to carry brass knuckles. It's a black pair of brass knuckles, and he lives in one of the homeless camps over by the Sinclair. Just well, not over by the Sinclair, over by the Hampton Inn. But the thing is, like, it's a whole bunch of people that live back there, and sending the cops back there would definitely make things worse for me and worse for them. But also, like, I can identify at least one of the people that he's related to, or soon to be, because the guys living there, it's him and his sister and his mom and his sister's boyfriend. But, you know, the thing is, I decided I was going to stay away from that camp about, I don't know, I'd say around a week ago. I don't do drugs, so there's no reason for me to be around those folks. It's unfortunate that nobody else seems to care, and the only reason that the people who are on drugs care is because, you know, I had money that they could con me out of, and that's the problem with not having somebody to help me with this stuff, and the fact that there are repercussions, and I have to live with them, and I can't defend myself against them. Obviously, I'm intelligent, but, like, right now I'm having issues because I don't know how long it's going to take this meth to run itself out of my system. I can't take care of myself. I can't do the paperwork myself. I literally can't function, you know, when I'm not on meth. And the thing is, like, all right, the last time I even tried meth was over 20 years ago. So for me, I'm obviously not having a good time. It was never something that was for me, and it's not something that ever should have happened. Now, if you'd cut whatever it is with fentanyl, well, then it would be an attempted murder charge. I do have heart issues, which he was aware of, and that's the thing, is that it's just...
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be exposed to other stuff.
Exactly. You know, I mean, I went to the hospital. I do have the hospital paperwork from last night. I've got the recordings of the cop that I spoke to yesterday. The problem is I had to talk to him with a guy who's pretty aloof. So they keep sending me from one place to another, and the stuff that they're doing just keeps on building and building and building. And
right, yeah, that can get awful frustrating.
It certainly is. And the fact that I got to deal with police officers who, you know, I tried to turn them in. So now that I got to try to turn in people in the community who are doing messed up stuff, I gotta be afraid to go to the local cops because they know I tried to turn them in. And still am, because that stuff, it's not okay to make disabled people a target. It's not okay to treat someone with Tourette syndrome like they're a tweaker. It's not okay to treat somebody who's autistic like they're schizophrenic. And it's also not okay to drug people like that. And people keep saying to me stuff like, oh, well, it's no big thing, or it's all in your head, or stuff like that. That's the reason I went down and got the hospital paperwork. I was like, they put something in there, I can taste it. And the hospital paperwork, it says methamphetamines. So I mean, how am I supposed to feel safe in this situation, you know?
Sure.
And all the people telling me I need to call one place, to call another, that's an executive functioning issue. I can't do that myself. I can try, it's not going to go anywhere. That's the problem.
It's not just an executive functioning issue. Sorry, I paused the video, of course, because I got to make the point that it's not just an executive functioning issue. It's a people's assumption issue. It's a them not able to pay attention issue. It's a them not listening issue. See, I often put everything onto myself or make excuses for my predators. That's what I'm told, right? And I'm told that that's pretty messed up because I bitch at people for making excuses for their predators.
With the exec.
Sorry, I pressed play for a half a second so it doesn't turn off. With the executive functioning thing, me getting the runaround is because I have to do it alone. When I get somebody to make just a few phone calls with me, I make a little bit of progress. But in order to keep that progress and not have it go to waste, I have to have somebody who can continually do that with me. And that sucks, especially now that it's 6 years worth of abuse. 6 years of going from one state to another. And I got folks saying, oh, well, you know, you're running from the law, ain't you? Well, actually, no, I'm not. I'm running from the people that the law won't do nothing about, and I'm running to the places where my predators don't live. If I go to where none of my predators are, if something happens to those predators, they won't go after my sister for it. They won't go after my niece for it. All right, I should probably press play on this again, huh?
Executive functioning issues. I'm overwhelmed. So until I'm in an environment where I'm not overwhelmed, I'm stuck like this. And then people who are predatory get to pretend whatever they want, call me mentally ill, and magically they get away with it.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say.
A lot of those cops.
When people tell me, hey, you're making excuses for people who are predatory towards you. Yeah, they were nice talking, they were smooth talking, but that don't mean they're your friend. And I get that. I really do. I get that just because they talk nice doesn't mean that they have the best intent. I'll press play again.
That are locked up, I told on them first, but nobody listened to me. Well, now that they're locked up, maybe somebody will listen to me. No, they don't. Anyway, they've been, the people from these web sleuth groups and the Bollinger family and their friends have been doing this stuff for years. So, I mean, for me coming to Hood River and having to deal with small town politics, I'm already used to it. I'm already used to some pretty horrible stuff. But the problem is, like I said, you should look up Natalie's name. You'll get to see why it is that people hate me. And then I got all the evidence in my vehicle that I need somebody to look at. I don't have the technical skills to actually show people. I've been trying to, but I'm just stuck on the bottom tier of Maslow's hierarchy of needs: food, water, and shelter. Also, my disability is going to get taken away because I still don't have a guardian or an advocate to help me with that, and I need whoever it is that's going to try to do that to actually take a look at the situation, and instead of blowing me off with the mentally ill thing, actually find out if I'm telling the truth or not. Now, the people who have already looked at the evidence, they can't look at a lot of it because there's just so much of it, and that's another big issue. People's time is limited, but the stuff that they've seen shows that I'm the one that told the truth and my predator's the one that lied. But then there's also the fact that when it's on the news and on social media like that, it's not the same as having 5 friends that are talking shit behind your back, And then there's the false arrests, because I was trying to turn in cops, and in western Nebraska especially, all they gotta do is press false charges on you, and boom, you can't turn them in. Now, since Natalie's death, and all the abuse that I've gone through since then, they've tried pulling this crap on me 11 different times just in Dual County. Either trying to call me mentally ill and pretend like I'm schizophrenic, or press bogus charges on me when I try to turn in the locals for abusing me. It's like the KKK in the movies. It's just a creepy place to live. Now, here in Hood River, people are a lot nicer than that, but I still get to see the racism. I still get to hear it, and I'm still scared shitless of my environment. So with the threats against my life and the assaults that I'm, going out of my way to try to avoid, and then people trying to poison me with methamphetamines. Apparently that's what it is according to Oregon law. It's a poisoning law, basically. He gets charged with trying to poison me. That's just based on what I was able to look up, based on the circumstances as they happened. For all I know how the prosecutors work. They like to throw the book at you. They'll throw on an extra 5 things that didn't happen just to get you to plead down.
Right.
So, one of the things that I'm worried about right now is that, like I said, I went to the hospital and I did try talking to a deputy down here at the marina, and their advice was basically just to walk it off. Obviously, I'm not capable of driving until it's out of my system entirely.
You want to make sure it is,
Yeah, so I've been sitting here, my car's been sitting here at the marina since yesterday morning. I still can't drive it yet. I don't have anybody else that can drive it for me. I know 2 people that I could ask that don't have driver's licenses, and I am not going to do that.
No, you don't want to do that, because then if somebody has an accident, somebody comes back on you.
Yep. Also, this is a small town, so it's not like I have a place I can hide. For all the places that I'm told to drive to, I need to stop being told to drive to places where as soon as I get there, I'm told that I've wasted $60 or $80 for basically nothing. I have to live on $800 a month, and $400 of that is cut right off the top for food and for insurance for my telephone and stuff. So I basically got absolutely nothing to live on for the rest of the month. Who can live on $400 a month?
Not much.
Anyway, I'm sorry for rambling at you. Obviously, there's a reason for it. I do need to be able to turn in the guy that did that. I'm gonna try to find his name, but also when I called like I said, everybody keeps telling me to call everybody else. You were referred to me by another service, and I put their name somewhere. Hold on a second. I got it on that piece of paper that I got from the hospital. It says, after visit summary, your urine test today is positive for methamphetamine. Now that's right there. I had to walk all the way up to the hospital to try to get help with that. While I'm having, obviously a reaction to these methamphetamines that people are telling me it's all in my head. Obviously, it's not just all in my head. If I got the hospital paperwork and it says right here in front of me, One Community Health. Okay, I believe they're the ones that referred me to you, or it might have been the Department of Health and Human Services. I don't know. I've made a lot of calls, and like I said, that's an executive functioning thing. I get exhausted and overwhelmed, and I shut down even under. Well,
anybody who's ever had to go through the runaround knows exactly what the hell I'm talking about. Now, if you're autistic on top of it, or you have PTSD, that's the thing with most autistic folks. The traits that you're associating with autism are not actually autistic traits. They're traits of somebody who has post-traumatic stress disorder from abuse, usually long-term abuse.
Or just regular screwed up conditions. The fact that I'm trying to get this stuff done.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, the executive functioning issues that I have do exist. They are real. Just because I don't have to have a wheelchair for that particular disability doesn't mean the disability doesn't exist. And a lot of y'all, that's what you seem to think. You seem to think if somebody's not in a wheelchair, they can't possibly be disabled. And that's just crazy thinking. But there's also the way that other people treat me because of that. And the fact that they go out of their way not to listen to understand. And then I end up, having a panic attack. And the more they interrupt me, the more they talk over me, the worse my panic attack gets. And the worse it gets, the more communication issues I have. And the more frequently they interrupt me, the more my volume is going to increase. When they start talking down to me, my volume is going to increase. When they want to give advice instead of listening, my volume is very likely to increase very shortly. You can't help if you can't listen. I am glad that Mr. Cal took time to listen the way that he did. Now, for me to go to the Dalles for this, and he says they got some good people there. I hope so. I'd like to be able to believe that I can safely get to the Dalles. I'd like to believe that once I get there, I'll be able to find the place. I want to believe these things. And I got MapQuest, and although it's screwed up quite a bit because of the solar whatever crap that's been going on, it might be able to get me to where I'm going. But for me, I want you to look at it from my perspective. I've literally traveled from one end of the country to the other to try to get help. Each of these places telling me to go somewhere else, or telling me, hey, if you come here, we'll help you. And I fill out their paperwork so they can get paid from the government. And then they tell me, like Jen Beebe, for example, tells me a year and a half after she was first supposed to be helping me with that, a year and a half later, she tells me that she was misinformed. And then she went out of her way to start playing stupid about a situation that ain't nobody gonna forget. Let's press play though. I can get this thing up and running. It's overheating now, so possibly not. And it's almost out of battery.
Under a time crunch while I'm trying to recover from swallowing it's gross. It's meth. It's gross. It still tastes nasty. So does that make sense? I'm not able to take care of myself. I'm trying, but my disabilities prevent me from doing it.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and
There's obviously a severe safety risk. People are trying to dose me with that much methamphetamine. But also my YouTube channel, I'm pretty loud.
you're doing okay.
Sorry, I got a little tiny bit of a cigarette and I tried to light it and I burned my thumb. Anyway, like I said, this has been happening nationwide. Natalie was shot in the head in December of 2017. The media and social media made me out to be some sort of a terrible monster, and well, it made Natalie famous,
10 more
made
minutes.
her family famous, helped all of Natalie's predators get away, and resulted in me and my friends and family all being threatened repeatedly. And then, of course, between going after the people who went after them and blaming me for it, it's easier to blame me. Oh, Sean, this is your fault. This is your fault. No, it's not my fault. Other people's decisions and actions are not my fault. And then there's cause and effect. Like if you poke somebody with a stick until they're backed into a corner and then they scream, well, the person who's backed up into the corner is obviously the victim. He shouldn't have backed him into a corner. But then you got somebody in the house and all they hear is a scream, and they come outside and the guy who's got you backed into a corner with a stick is like, well, I was only backing him up with a stick because he was yelling. That's where the timeline comes in, cause and effect. Well, police in Colorado wanted me to be guilty of killing Natalie, especially since I'd spoken out about them for a lot of years. They're pretty friggin' crooked, and they had a lot of incentive for the crimes they committed. They thought they were gonna catch a killer. Well, unfortunately, I'm not a killer. The guy who killed Natalie Bollinger, his name is Joseph Michael Lopez, and he served 48 years for it. But I'm still being abused. I'm still disabled. I'm autistic, which is a developmental disability, which means that somebody is supposed to be assigned to this to help me with these things because I can't function to do them for myself. Right? But so far, nobody has observed that. I don't want people to continue threatening to kill my friends and family. I don't want to continue having panic attacks over them treating me like shit because people did those things to them. I'm tired of being treated like I'm a villain for that. Right. My family was threatened first. That's the thing with all these people who wanted to tell me they were going to help me after Natalie was killed. They told me, oh yeah, I want to help you, I want to help you, I want to help you. And then I said, well, they're threatening to kill people's families to try to help me. Oh, I can handle it, Sean, I can handle it. No, they can't handle it. None of them can handle it. That's why I got hundreds of recordings of people that won't talk to me anymore, where they're all admitting that their lives were threatened, their families were threatened, their kids were threatened. I got a whole Facebook full of it, and that all should have gone to the police. Every bit of it. None of it ever should have been on Facebook, and none of it ever should have been on YouTube. And the safety risks and my paranoia of the cops all comes from cops doing what cops do. I get that the community pressures them You know, these government officials that get busted doing these illegal things are like, well, you know, our constituents, they push us to do this and they push us to do that. Like, come on now. You know, if we got to follow the law, you guys need to follow the law. If there's evidence, you need to look at the evidence instead of going, oh, well, she's pretty and he's a homeless, ugly dude, so she wins. And it's unfortunate that that's literally the way that it's been. Anyway, I need an investigator to actually do something to look into the crimes that have been committed against me, and there's a lot of them. And like I said, my executive functioning issues that make all this difficult. If I have somebody who's assigned to it, I'm pretty sure I have enough gas to get to the Dalles to try to do that. But again, I'm going to need somebody to help me with that. Any paperwork or anything like that, I can't do for myself. Any phone calls that I make. Go ahead.
I also want to add that there is at least 4 homeless camps in Oregon that have been lit on fire in the last month.
Get down here to our office, you know, I can talk to some of our people, the experts in that. I don't, you know, when it comes to the benefits and, you know, different things like that, they have more expertise than I do. But yeah, if you got here, you know, you can sit down with one of them and, you know, let them know what you need and.
Well, that's what much of the issue through the last 6 years has been, is that people keep telling me if you go here and if you go there, and then they say, oh, well, we're sure that they have those services, and then those people tell me they don't actually do that. Or they say, well, you can come in here and you can sit down with somebody, and then you fill out this paperwork, and then you find out later on that filling out that paperwork screwed you over. And then you try to explain it when you have to move again because people are still harassing you. They're not going to stop harassing you until you're allowed to defend yourself. It comes down to a civilian who gives a shit. They tried sending me to Clearview Behavioral Health. I told on Clearview Behavioral Health. Clearview killed a man. You can look them up on the internet. You know, all those victims of Clearviews that tried speaking up and nobody would listen to them. It took the parent of one of the victims speaking up. Now, can you imagine how many hundreds of victims were put through that place before that one parent pushed hard enough to actually be heard? And thank goodness he did. Clearview is closed down. They can't kill anybody else. They're closed.
Yep.
They killed Ty Brate there. But that's just one of many places that I was at that ended up being on the news. But then I can't say that without having the evidence in person to show you, because if I can't show it to you in person, well, it might as well just be some crazy dude off the streets rambling. And that's how I get treated by law enforcement.
Right. Okay. Well, hey, Sean, I'm going to have to get off here. I'm the only one answering the phones, and I've been talking to you for 3/4 of an hour. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
But I'm you know, I'm sorry I have to get off, but you know, I got to be available for the other people that call. But I would, you know, I'd like to stress that, you know, find out who this person is. If you can get the name, I don't care if you have to do it anonymously to the police or whatever. If you can find out who this person is or identify them, let them know so that doesn't happen to somebody else. And I would also stress for you to, you know, if you're not comfortable up there on Hood River, to come to our office down here. We're right on the river, you know, and you know, we've got good people here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's one of the things is that I keep on moving for services that people don't know if they're there or not. So I'm trying to have a little faith on
if you get services here, if you get services, you can start up here and you want to move somewhere else, they can be transferred. These can, you know, the office can transfer those to the jurisdiction. You know, we have the offices all over the state, so you're not set in one place. Once you're getting benefits, you don't have to.
Well, I've already got benefits from Nebraska, and I've been trying to get help with that for 5 months.
Yeah. Well, try to get down here, okay?
Yes, sir.
But like I said, also try to find out who that was and get that information to the police. So even if you have to do it anonymously, you know, they need to know so they can, before somebody else has a worse day than you do.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, hey, I appreciate it, Sean. I
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
you calling.
Thanks for being on the
and
same
I'm
page
gonna
on that.
yeah. You betcha. I'm always gonna be honest with you, and I'm gonna check on some of the stuff you told me as far as the background, so I'm more familiar with it, and we'll go from there. But the main thing is you take care of yourself. Don't drive till you think you're okay, and then we'll go from there. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Be
All
safe.
right. You take care. All right. You too. Bye.
Bye. All right. That poor guy had to listen to an earful. I was able to get a couple more little micro naps in, sort of. That's a good start, right? I'm calling Dan from the Dells Center for something. Let's see.
It went back to the very beginning of the video once it ended, so it's 17 seconds into playing it again. I'm gonna shut it off so I can conserve it. I got a whole bunch more calls on here, but this thing is overheating like you wouldn't believe. My phone, despite the fact that I set it on top of something that's cold, is also starting to overheat. That was Dan. You got to hear between the first video and this one, he said he used to be a cop or a police officer a long time ago. Oh man, this thing is getting way hot. Good to be with you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind. I'm going to try to get to the Dalles. I got to make sure everything's secure. Need more bungee straps. We'll make it happen. What's going to happen when I get there? Are they going to tell me I'm in the wrong jurisdiction and I got to come back to Hood River? I'm hoping not. But since that's happened in so many jurisdictions that I've been sent to, you go to this other jurisdiction and they'll help you. Oh, we'll help you sign up for services, but that's it. We're not going to help you turn in your predators. We're going to ignore that. You got to go back to Hood River for that, is what I'm expecting. Let's hope that's not what happens. Again, good to be with you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind.